Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the upcoming pattern here through the late portion of January, the very final couple of days here, and then the early portion of February especially. We're going to be taking a look at the storminess we could expect and for what regions we could really expect it to be at, and then also the temperature patterns. Anyways, before I get into this video, be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more weather-related content. Let's get straight into things, and first things first, we're actually taking a look at how this previous December went. And as you can see, there was a bit of a trough there in the west, but overall, mostly a ridge here in the eastern half of the country. This was the overwhelming pattern here throughout the month of December, and that was the final month of 2021. So like our previous December that just happened about a month or 2 months ago, and I do expect this actually to return to a pattern quite similar to this in the month of February, by the way. Now, as we move this all the way on, we can get all the way to now, where we can get an idea that it was much different actually in the month of January. We saw mostly a trough here in the east. There was some cold around here in the west, but it was mostly centered over the east and the central United States. We did have that southeast ridge at times, especially the first week or so of January, but that cold to the north definitely won out. That's why we had, wintry weather going on for these regions, also very cold temperatures throughout these regions, and there's actually more of it to come as we close out the month of January. So this has been the pattern. Basically, the winter's been split in half so far to this point between December and then January, which ended up being like the opposite of December. And overall, we do expect this, like I said, February to be much more like December was. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at our European weeklies model. And this is going to be our, let's just actually move this ahead straight into February. There we go. February 1st through February 8th. And we do expect a big old trough in the west and a ridge in the east. So already we're returning to that February pattern, except there's a little bit more cold than there was in December here. But this southeast corner here is definitely dealing with a southeast ridge. This is classic in La Nina winters. And we are dealing with serious cold here by this point here for these regions up here in the western United States. I mean, very cold temperatures here by this point. Let's just go ahead and move this forward. This is going to be the second week of February, and most of this cold is located here in the west. But as you can see, there's also quite a bit of cold located here in the east. This is a lot more zonal, which zonal means it's more horizontal rather than, kind of vertical a little bit here with these troughs and ridges. The jet stream is probably heading in, well, it probably has a little bit of a dip here, but honestly, it's pretty flat compared to what we've been seeing. Still, most of this cold is located here in the west, and most of the warmth here is in the southeast. But this second week, the 7th through the 14th of February, might be that opportunity in the east for a little bit more cold and a little bit more snowiness to make its way in. Now, as we head in towards the 14th through the 21st, so this is going to be week 3 of February, we could see a huge trough in the west, big old ridge in the east. This is definitely looking warm in the east and cold in the west. So this is definitely the opposite of what we've seen in January. This looks a lot more like that December pattern, and it also looks a lot more like the first week of February. So that second week of February looks to be the anomaly here. And on top of this cold that we expect out west, we also expect the storminess to return, just like we saw in December, where there was storm after storm after storm. We expect similar conditions to take place there out west. And as we head into towards that kind of final week here of February, you can see we got this trough out west and a tiny bit of a ridge out east. But the warmth is pretty limited in here. But that cold is still just centered over the Rockies, and it is not moving at all. Tons and tons of cold here in this region, and pretty marginal amounts of cold there, with a little bit of warmth here underneath. That seems to be the trend as we move through the month of February. Now let's take a look at those precipitation anomalies here. And this is really the end of January timeframe here, and you can see there's just tons of dryness here along the western seaboard, and also here for the southeastern United States towards the end of January. But as we head towards the beginning of February, we get a lot of storminess up here for the Pacific Northwest being indicated. Still some dry conditions down there for the Southwest, and also some storminess here in the plains and portions of the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes as well. So a lot of this energy kind of returns into these regions where it was in December, as opposed to these southern regions where it is and has been in January. Now, during that second week, remember we talked about how that second week seems to be kind of weird, like where it's going to switch up and take us back into a pattern that looks a lot more like January. We get very dry on the west again, and then we get more precipitation moving into this region again, just like we've seen in most of January, which is pretty interesting to say the least. I am curious to see how that plays out because that is a lot different than the rest of February is looking. And even as we head towards week 3, we can see the precipitation, this above average precipitation, returns up here for the Northwest and back into the Ohio Valley and Great Plains again, and things dry up again for the Southeast where those nor'easters would be in the month of January. And as we head towards the very end of February, again, storminess for the Northwest, still dry for the Southwest, and dry here for the Southeast, where things have been very wet in January. They will be dry in February, and then up here in the Northwest where things were wet in December, we're going to see things return to that very, very stormy pattern out there in the West, which again is just super interesting moving forward. Now here's our Arctic oscillation. I think this is worth noting. Things are going to go, they're in a positive AO, they're going to head negative for a tiny bit, and they're going to remain positive for pretty much a majority of the month of February. So this only dip here is at the very end of January and the very beginning of February. So right here, again, that's going to be this Sunday through all the way into Monday. So very, very tail end of January into February. We're watching for this, and there could be a ton of potent Arctic air around that time frame. And then there's not going to be quite as potent amounts of cold air available when it's in this positive phase. Honestly, anytime it's up here, I just expect warmer than normal conditions for most regions, or at least half the regions, and then pretty marginal cold for the other regions. Whereas if it's here, we see warm for some of the United States, but we see frigid cold for a lot of the United States as well. But as you can see, only for a couple days out of the upcoming pattern will we be in a negative AO, and it's right here. The rest will be featuring this kind of positive AO pattern. Now, as we take a look at that PNA, we can go ahead and draw that line again. That wasn't very good. That wasn't very good again. Okay, I'm not going to try anymore. We are in a positive. We're going to dip negative a little bit, go back positive, and then go very negative, and we're going to stay mostly in a negative PNA through the upcoming pattern. Well, what does this mean? Basically, in a positive PNA, we see the cold is centered over the east. Okay? The cold is in the east when we're in a positive PNA. In a negative PNA, the cold is centered over the west. That is the big difference with the PNA. So, negative PNA, we see the cold centered in the west. Positive PNA, we see the cold centered really over the east. So that is the big driver there, obviously, because usually there's not cold from coast to coast. So it's going to be in one or the other. Clearly, this indicates that the cold is going to be mostly centered over the western United States, because basically through the first all the way through the end of February, this model has us in a negative PNA, which is a huge indicator that we are going to be mostly in that negative PNA, very cold in the west pattern. For today's confidence tab, we're at a 4 out of 6. I feel like I have moderate confidence today, but not super high, not super low. 4 is just always a great way to go. For today's patron highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our platinum patrons, Bill Crates, James Wade, Dovin Nagel, Lurla Pan, Mandy Birchfield, Patrick Strickland, Dave Scott, and Donna Carnage as well. I'd also like to thank our diamond patrons, Bill Roberts, Marcus Connolly, Noah Harley, Michael Kudalasa, Catbite, Charles Stinnett, Bill Dallas, Gary's, and John Coolacey also. I would also like to thank our channel members, Catbite, Stephen Fan, and Jeremy Cox as well. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more weather-related content. I'll see you guys in the next video.